specifically asked by a curator who was curating a show with some wonderful artists like Noah Davis and several other people in Los Angeles. And it's a show on Joan Didion. And the show, the artists were asked to make a visual response to her work, and in particular, a book that she wrote called Play It As It Lays. And so she asked me to write a story, a short story based on that book, loosely based on that book. The story is very, very loosely based on that, but it's a short story that's going to be included in the catalog for that show, which opens in November. And the story is called Gidgety Goodrop. My sister Kate's body resembles a lamppost. Big, boxy head, wide, pointy shoulders that taper down into a scrawny torso and hips. Her face is inordinately bright and lets off a slightly pink glow, most likely from her rosacea. She's always been fair-skinned, and we used to joke as kids that she could contract a sunburn from a Christmas bulb. I mean this in the kindest sense of the word, of course, lamppost, bright, stationary object, as her soul is definitely more in keeping with illumination than with just standing around doing nothing. Her hair is corn snake red, and she sleeps strangely rigid against the passenger door of the Buick we rented not more than 4 hours ago on our way out of LA. I've been trying to get out for literally 10 years now, and why it's so fucking hard I haven't really figured out yet. I haven't been back to Silver Wells in a long time, though the surrounding landscape with its stubbly, low-slung hills feels vaguely familiar. I remember seeing a dog fall out the back of a flatbed truck once on this very same road. I didn't actually see it get hit, but I remember looking for it out the back window of my mother's old Jeep long after we had passed that stretch of highway, descending deeper into the dry, gaping mouth that was, and still is, Nevada. Kate was maybe a year old. I was 10. Kate, in the throes of another migraine, probably due to the September heat, sleeps fierce and hard, her light blue eyes spasmodically pinging behind their lids as I turn my head to look at her. She wears a floppy pink hat pulled down halfway over her face to keep the light out. I drive as even-handedly as possible. No sudden lane changes or abrupt stops. I-15 extends out in front of me, narrowing at the grapevine. A sharp, convulsive shouldering of the road. Left, then right, right, then left. Again and again, the steering wheel breaks its own endless circle. Scrub brush shadows itself in the 5 o'clock dust, repeating similar patterns down the length of the road as the sun recedes into a vague and unsettling sky. Roadkill at an all-time low today. 2 rabbits, no dogs, thank God. We are about an hour out from Vegas, and there is a bright blank space at the center of the windshield. It could be a reflection, but of what exactly I'm not sure, though my eyes keep returning to it. To the right of it is a darker smear, the smudged out body of an insect, a kamikaze bee that had simply decided it had had enough. I opened the window to a dry blast on the driver's side, the vague primal smell of livestock rising up on the wind, September in the southwest. Strangely, it comforts me, despite the intense heat that makes me weak and sleepy. Kate sputters some weird variation on a word in her sleep. Safety, maybe. Soot face. I can't tell for sure. On her lap is a book on snakes and spiders of the Southwest. The front cover is badly torn and faded, bastardizing what once was a legible title that has somehow been cut away. Deadly Kings of the Desert to the terse, dead desert. Mother hated insects, and snakes for that matter, but now that she's gone, Kate brought the book along to give to Colin, the 11-year-old boy of an old family friend who lives in Summerlin, a few miles north of Silver Wells. We plan to stop in for a quick visit, either before or after the funeral. Mother always claimed Colin had a morbid fascination for spiders, snakes, amphibians, any creature it was impossible to get close to, let alone learn to love. It was Colin's birthday. I read the snake book once, or more accurately, skimmed through it one afternoon when I was house-sitting for my sister. She had had the book on her coffee table for what had seemed like decades. No fine art picture books or house and garden magazines, high fashion or gossipy throwaways, just the snake book, front and center. It seemed almost an affront to her own nature. Kate, lively, almond-eyed and bright, but with that odd book prominently displayed where everyone could see it. I don't remember much of what was written there, but what did stay with me was the sense that spiders and snakes were not so much repulsive as deeply misunderstood. They didn't frighten me exactly, but reminded me instead of everything that is left unseen in the world. A musty garage at midnight, an old shoe to crawl into, someone's attic filled with the objects of the dead, the dispossessed, the misbegotten. For me, what was most unsettling about them was the fact they could be right under your feet and you wouldn't know it until it was too late. At every turn, they resisted being seen or discovered, quavering inside their slender bodies, strangely despotic and alone. The book thumps loudly to the floor of the car, and Kate stirs momentarily, angling her skinny body closer to the passenger door as though the cool metal were something she could melt into, something she could hold. No matter how close she gets with the lower half of her body, her head seems always to be in the way, stiff and unwieldy, preventing her from fully apprehending anything or anyone. I descend yet another steep hill, and the light is beginning to fade, as though God pursed his lips and drew in a high, long breath, sucking out all the light from the sky. There are very few cars on the road, perhaps because it's a weekday. It occurs to me, if Mother was here with us, the air would be narrower, tighter, the conversation aimed at the continual annihilation of men. It was always that way. My father had one story, Kate's father another. Each one descended into the same eventual morass of bile and guts, a rigor mortis of the heart. She said before men got into your pants, it was all just gidgety goo-drops. After that was another story completely. Like snakes. On the pages of the book, they appeared mythic, extracted from another place and time, beautiful, ethereal, and slender, the fact of them as real and dangerous, seemingly incongruent and so far away. Mother hated snakes, probably because they reminded her in some way of the men she had loved and lost, lovers who seemed to betray her simply by the very fact that they were alive. A snake had bitten her once on the side of the face when she was a child in grammar school. It was a garden snake, and the kids would take it out of the science lab at recess. Mother must have recounted that story every time she saw that damn snake book on Kate's living room table. At the bottom of the steep incline that leads into another sprawling valley, a dozen or so yellow star thistle plants extend themselves closer to the highway like aberrant constellations. I read in a nature magazine how some well-meaning gardener would dump grass trimmings over the fence